Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for Friday, February 18th, 2022. Our Friday co host. He is not just a guest, he's a co host, he's a fixture here. Our back to back days in the Windy City. A day where we get to catch up on the week in the Big Ten, some hoops. Not a lot of cheesehead talk. We're waiting for Lord Aaron to make his decision and which direction he will go. I mean, I think his decision has a lot to do with what will happen with Devontae, obviously, after that. And they have some other players that need to get re signed, and they are in cap jail, as we know. But it's the NFL. That's why there's an eraser on the back of that pencil there. But today, myself and Riley are going to get you caught up to speed on the College Board, the Big Ten weekend. NBA's on an all-star break. The game will be held this Sunday. They got the Rising Stars today, and then I assume on Saturday will be the dunk contest and all that other good stuff, or unless that's tonight as well. I'm not even sure. But let's bring them on. The one, the only, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Afternoon, Riley.
Jeff, how's it going? Good to see you, my friend. I have to shout you out for the artwork that you sent over yesterday. You got the Big Ten sweatshirt fixed there. I would have accepted the Pac-10. I mean, I told you I've always been a fan of the Pac-10. Could have picked out the narrative that maybe I used to be the Pac-10 guy, but when they added 2 and decided to change the name to the Pac-12, then I jumped ship or something like that. I had it all cooked up for us, but love the graphic, my friend. It was absolutely beautiful.
Well, the funny thing is, I showed you the first one, and then I reach out to my caricature guy, and I says, "Hey," I says, "it's a great conversation piece, obviously, because he isn't from." I said he's from Chicago. He's a Big Ten guru. He got the cheesehead right. I says, but you got the Pac-10, so you added combined both conferences, and then 5 minutes later he changes it. But here's the funny, I fit it to my tech guy, and the picture, then the graphic that we had up before the show still had the Pac-10, and I gave him the
Oh,
right
did
one.
it? I
So
didn't
now
even notice.
we have both now. So it's kind of good. We'll be throwing you some curveballs back and forth. How's that?
Hey, no worries. Hey, you mentioned not too much Packer talk. Us in Packerland beg to differ just a tiny bit. Packers announced the hiring of Tom Clements as QB coach. So if you're reading the tea leaves, that is Rodgers' former first half of his career QB coach when he was Tom Clements was, I don't know the exact range, but up until about 2013-14 was his QB coach in 2011 when Rodgers won his first MVP. Got him out of retirement, though, so not just bringing him back. Brought him out of retirement. So reading the tea leaves, I don't know that they do that. I don't think they do that. They bring him out of retirement. I don't know if Tom Clements comes out of retirement to coach Jordan Love, if you catch my drift over here.
Well, it was funny getting ready for the show. I was downstairs, and I have usually Colin on from 12 to 2. Then I go to our locals at 98.5. And Colin had a Packer writer, beat reporter on just before I came up to the studio. And, his take very simply is he thinks either next week, the week after, Aaron will stick and stay in the Packers. You give him a 2-year extension, will allow you to save some money there. Then obviously, I don't think Devontae Adams will take the franchise tag too well. So if you give Aaron a 2-year deal, I assume you could work something out where you could at least get Devontae maybe a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option or something like that. But I guess my question to you, listen, I said it jokingly the last handful of shows with you, the banana and the tailpipe. Listen, it's the only team in the world that I know of that the town, the city, the state, whatever you say, owns it. Uh, um, Comfortable with 13-3s, number 1 seeds. This year would have been different. Number 1 seed bye week, and at least got to the conference championship game, where the year before, you lost to the Bucks. Well, at least you would have had a chance to defend your home ground again. Um, the question Colin asked, and I'm going to ask you this point blank:
Uh-huh.
has this team peaked? Have you seen the best, or what else can you grab other than a Super Bowl? I mean, it's a hard take on my part.
No, it is. I mean, in my opinion, have they peaked? That's a great question. I would say probably. And so I personally, I would like them to run it back because I fear for the alternative of whether it's not only next year, because if he leaves, regardless of what they do, they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender next year. But even, I mean, I know there's a lot of people in the Packers fan base that want them to move forward, get a ton of draft picks and whatnot, and build for the next 5 years. And that's obviously a path that can be done. There's just so much uncertainty around that. And so if you're telling me that if you bring him back and can bring back Devontae Adams and bring back a vast majority of the guys we've had for the last couple of years, and you're right, can they reach another peak and go past what they've done? I don't know, but at the very least, I can look you in the face and say that we will be in that conversation once again, potentially win 11, 12, 13 games, maybe host some games again at Lambeau Field, because obviously, you're right, it has been the banana in the tailpipe. I personally don't believe in the alternative as whether it's obviously, like I said, it's not going to be next year and even in the next 5 years. Obviously, because kind of the blueprint of what they would kind of go for, they've got the running backs, they've got an offensive line, and they're starting to build up their defense. So kind of the path that they would be going on would be to essentially emulate what the 49ers have done and kind of build around a mediocre quarterback and a strength in every other aspect of it. Obviously, that's worked out for them to get to an NFC championship and a Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, they also don't have a ring on their finger in large part because the man throwing the ball hasn't quite gotten them over the hump in those other moments. So I personally think the best course of action, the best chance, whether it's next year or over the next 5 years, the best course of action to chances of getting a Super Bowl are still highest with that man running things. And whether or not, and because like as you said, am I going to be as staunch as I was this year of, we're winning the Super Bowl this year? This is it. Trust me, this is it. I don't know. But I still like that alternative because at least in the NFC, I personally believe the Packers were better than the Rams this year. Obviously, the Niners have been our kryptonite essentially. So maybe that would be the case again next year. There's not really another team in the NFC at the very least that scares me. The AFC might be a different conversation, but to get to the Super Bowl, I don't think it's going to be a tough road out of the NFC again next year. I don't think the Rams will be as good. It's so tough to get, whether to repeat, let alone get back to the Super Bowl is so damn tough. So no Tom Brady now. So honestly, the case for him coming back is that I think the NFC might be weaker next year, in my opinion.
I think you're a mirror image of the Patriots. The Patriots had Tom for all those years, and then we drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tom was on the decline. Okay, as soon as they drafted Garoppolo, Tom again was the first guy in, the last guy out.
Right.
He kicked it up to another level. Then the TB12 brand started. All the training and all this, whatever you want to call it, kicked in, and he just stiff-armed Jimmy to the side. Obviously, Tom gets hurt. Jimmy comes in. Jimmy gets hurt. But eventually, Tom goes to management and says, hey, get rid of this guy. I'm here. I'm not moving. So it was Bill and Jimmy versus Tom and get him out. And Kraft finally said, hey, Bill, do me a favor, move him. And he got nothing for him. He got a bag of donuts to the 49ers. He gave him a nice soft landing. Now, we have the heir apparent. Tom goes on and he wins the Super Bowl. So I can see your feelings. The fact that, hey, if Aaron leaves, goes to Denver, and you see Denver in the Super Bowl, and you're stuck with Jordan Love, it stings. Well, this year, Tom didn't make it to the Super Bowl. The Pats were one and done, but we're moving in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
No, you talk about ripping that Band-Aid. I mean, this would be a domino effect. In other words, you move Aaron, you get a boatload of picks, you move him to Denver, you grab a Sutton, you grab one of their wide receivers. Maybe they would move Judy. I don't know. The fact is you get a boatload of picks. You'd see what you have from Jordan. You get under the cap because you're not gonna. If Aaron leaves, you're not keeping Adams either. I mean, you're
No,
then you're gonna
no.
go great, and it's gonna be a year of growing pains, and then you can decide, hey, is Jordan the guy? Hey, you're in the division like the AFC East used to be. You're in
Right.
a division with a new head coach, new OC at the Bears with Justin Fields in his second year. You know about the Lions. You got a new head coach over in Minnesota. They're not sure if they're going to keep
Kirk
Cousins
Cousins.
from
Yeah, yeah.
last year. So by default, you're going to go 9-7. 9-8. There's 17 games now. So 10-7. Maybe you wouldn't host. Maybe you wouldn't get the bye. But the fact of the matter is, I just think it's listen, he got you one. I know you guys want the second one. Hey, if you'd won it this year, Aaron, retire or move on because we got to go in another direction.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why it stings so much. Because over the last 2 years, I mean, 2 years ago, you could say, or last year, whatever you want to call it now at this point, with Tom Brady, that one stung. And then this one it stung worse because watching that Super Bowl, and I told Colton, and he kind of pushed back a little bit. And it's definitely just my feelings. Watching that game, I mean, this happens over the last 10 years, Jeff. I mean, just about every single year watching the Super Bowl. I watched it with my dad and brothers, just as big a Packers fans as I am. Over under 7.5 times we look at each other and say, son of a, we're better than these two teams. What are we doing here? We should be watching the Packers. So there's some of that feeling as well. So I get it. And I mean, kind of how you laid it out, though, as far as his best path, Rodgers being, if he's kind of, whether or not you think he's, processing what's the best path to make it to the Super Bowl. Colton and I kind of laid this out. The AFC, maybe he wants to go to an AFC team, and maybe he thinks there's a team that puts him, or he has a higher ceiling of a team. But as far as the path, I mean, you're talking about the Denver Broncos. That would be putting yourself in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, who just lost in heartbreaking fashion the last two playoffs. They're going to be pissed off. You got the Chargers on the upcoming, and they just lost in Week 18 trying to get to the playoffs. They're going to want to be hell-bent to at least get to the playoffs. And you got a Raiders team that is probably, if that scenario plays out, would be the fourth best team. They were a playoff team this year. And we just talked about the NFC. By default, you're getting 10 wins, and you're getting into the playoffs. So I personally think the best path chances are still there. But like you said, if you look at me in the face and saying that I'm overconfident that it's not going to be the same thing as the last 10 years, I don't know. I'm kind of worn out from it. But at the same time, I still think that's the best chances.
So as I'm putting you ahead of Packer Nation, and you can make the decision to rip the Band-Aid off, move on from Aaron, Devontae, take your lumps, see what Jordan's got, get under the cap, get some great draft picks, build from within, or 2 more years, we're going to be stuck with what we got, and we're just going to ride this out.
I mean, you've heard me. I would say 2 years because the other part of it is like you could say that we've gone all in and we've had these cap issues. The cap issues in the NFL are, I know it sounds daunting and this might sound goofy, but they can be moved around. And I also don't feel like we've totally burned the bridge on the future, kind of like how you just talked about with the Patriots. It was really 1 year of cleaning a few things up. And now, obviously, they weren't Super Bowl contenders this year, but it was a lot better in that second year without Tom. And I still, even if we go 1 more year, 2 more years, I don't think that burns the bridge for the future, which I think is a lot of what the Packer fans who want Aaron to move on is what they're thinking, is if we go all in, so to speak, they think it's burning the bridge for, it's going to be a tougher rebuild after that. And I don't quite agree with that because we have a lot of young pieces on defense, especially. And then, a few pieces here and there on offense to rebuild. So give me 2 more years, Jeff, and I'll hope for another Super Bowl.
Transition here.
Yeah.
What do these teams all have in common? Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Illinois.
They'll have a ranking next to their name. Is that what you're asking, or am I missing something?
All just lost to Rutgers.
Of course. Of course. How did I miss this? You're right. First time ever that an unranked team beats 4 straight ranked teams while staying unranked. Yeah, that one slipped my mind. You're right. And potentially number 5 on Sunday. I'm not putting my money on it necessarily, but fifth ranked team in the row, Rutgers here on Sunday. Still unranked as Rutgers. Going to Purdue this time. I don't know about you, but I kind of, without seeing a line, we'll see how it shakes out. And I imagine that's probably going to be a trendy public dog on Sunday, regardless of what the number is. But you have to imagine that Purdue's going to be wanting some revenge after what happened to them in Piscataway. I think it was December, right? Maybe that was long enough ago where they kind of forgot about it. But you know what I'm saying? I don't expect it, but we've kind of been saying it over the last few weeks. All right, this is about the last time we can get some value. And then the next thing they know, they show up. I mean, just beat Illinois, a team that beat them by almost maybe 30, 25, 35 points or something along those lines. It was they played a different sport than the first time around, Jeff. And I mean, credit to Colton as far as this one. I think it was the first of those 4. He said, hey, like if they get this one, it's not, the show's not over for March Madness. And he's absolutely right. And now obviously we're back into a spot. They're 16-9 straight up with at least these 4 wins, let alone that Purdue win. And maybe they need 1 or 2 more, but I tweeted it out. Can we just give them an auto bid at this point and call it a day? What are you thinking on this one?
Well, it's funny because on Friday we talked about Wisconsin winning the regular season at plus 300, and I released that. And I was full confident that the Rutgers streak was ending at 2. Wisconsin was a nice 6-7 point favorite. And Rutgers goes in and not only covers, but beats them outright.
One of my favorite home court's advantages in the country, and Rutgers goes in and beats them. Give me a break.
And I was thinking of you, and I was thinking of our show on Friday. I was like, oh my God. And then, so of course, this week, the same setup, in comes Illinois. They open them at 4.5. I mean, Rutgers was the biggest public trendy dog probably of the year. And I just, on our show, The Closing Bell, I made it clear to everyone, just if you weren't there the first 2 games, just be careful here. And what do? Boxed away.
Yeah, Colton and I actually thought, I mean, again, we can't bet on Illinois sports here legally in Illinois, and we're Illinois fans, so we kind of preface that by saying that, but we were like, this one, these Rutgers games at home have been those like 2.5 point dogs where that's the setup spot, and it was, like you said, 4.5, I think maybe 3.5 at a certain point. We're like, this feels like a giant, big, fat, stinky public dog. We know Illinois, if they're ready to show up and ready to scrap, they beat it by 35, or I don't know if it was 25-35. It was an embarrassment the first time around. So we thought Illinois was gonna come in and take it, but Illinois can get on a run and still take the regular season. But that kind of felt like the nail in the coffin as far as maybe not quite, but essentially the nail in the coffin as far as the regular season championship is concerned, unless Rutgers does it one more time this weekend against Purdue. I don't know.
Give us the weekend review for the Big Ten, the Riley Magnuson weekend review, how your plays have been going, where your head is, and just in general, how the week's been.
It's been a pretty break-even week for me. I've had a 2-0 day. I've had an 0-2 day, 1-1, 0-1, all over the place. I mean, yesterday, because I on top of college basketball, I do a lot of NBA, and sadly, this is the first Friday that I can't bring some NBA winners to the table. Friday is probably my most profitable day of any sport and any league in any day. NBA Friday nights, can't get anything there today. Last night I had 2 unders, and naturally the one that cashed was the game that went 2 overtimes and stayed under by 9 points. The other one that didn't was Mavs Pelicans, and went over with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You can't draw it up any better than that. So I've been pretty break even. Colton told you yesterday it was on our special play, so I didn't play it straight up, but we had Minnesota yesterday. I mean, I know we've called them frauds all season long, Minnesota. It just felt like a little too many. Penn State in a favorite spot. But aside from that, I believe I had Wisconsin. Actually. I took the +3, but I had them beating Indiana on Tuesday. That was a huge, huge win. Indiana still got a little work to do as far as solidifying for sure their spot in March. If they scuffle throughout the end of the season, they could be on the outside looking in. I think Colton and I had on our 2 for Tuesday special play, I think we had Penn State sliding in the +2.5 against Michigan State. But yeah, I mean, as far as Michigan State is concerned, We've essentially laid it out all season long. I don't know if we've actually said the F word completely outright here, but we've essentially been saying tiptoeing around the fraud word here for Izzo's boys. And I mean, Penn State's defense has been fantastic over the last couple of weeks. Saw it yesterday. Held Minnesota under 50, held Michigan State under 60. But if Michigan State's going on the road and can't handle Penn State in the middle of February, I don't think this is the classic Michigan State Sparty team that's going to show up here in March.
Well, I think there's a mirror image of Michigan State and Izzo's armies out in the Pac-12, and that's Oregon. Everyone's been waiting for Oregon to make that leap. And on our show yesterday, I made it as clear as day. You have the two biggest Jekyll and Hyde teams playing each other last night was Oregon facing Arizona State. And, again, Oregon favored by 5 at Arizona State. Bobby Hurley, dead man walking, he's gone. And an Arizona State team, 15-point favorites, lose by 20, and 50-point underdogs win by 15 outright. And in come the Ducks, and they just go box to wire. And just like Oregon, everyone's waiting for Izzo armies to start marching, and Vegas is ready for it. And guess what? They're just collecting money hand over fist.
Right. And if they had any name and any other coach under their or with this team and the roster that they have, we would have called them frauds. We would have outright said frauds in January, the first week of January, after they won 5 out of 6 against the weakest teams in the Big Ten. But because it's Izzo and because it's Michigan State, watch out come February and March. But it hasn't happened yet. I'm drawing a blank on who they got this weekend, but we'll talk about that in a second, I assume.
Yeah, so tonight's board is a short board. There's not a lot out there. We do have one Big Ten game. The Twerps are playing, of course, and this is a perfect Twerp spot. It's rotation number 895, 896. Maryland on Friday night at Nebraska. Opened up 1.5-point favorites, now 2-point favorites. I'm showing about a 54-63 split, and you and I both know this. I'll speak just for myself. You put Maryland on the road, short favorites, and you wager on them, you're better off just Venmoing your brother or sister, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, they never come through, but they're playing Nebraska. So I have no say in the game.
No, so I only made one play today, Jeff. It is not on the spread. I stayed far away from these spreads today because I think Nebraska is the right side, but I'll be damned if I'm putting any trust in that team on the flip side of what you just said about Maryland. I've had about every 3 weeks I see a Nebraska spread that looks like this, where the other side looks like a trap and people think that team is far better. And I say, you know what, I think this is a spot for Nebraska, and then we show up and they lose by 30. So I'm not touching them with a 10-foot pole. A lot of money on it, Jeff, but I'm not too concerned with it because I don't think a ton of people are going to be playing this game. The public, I'm saying, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I could be wrong, but I'm going to the over in this one. I caught it at 146. Has in a couple spots ticked up. So if you're worried, at least where I'm seeing, it could be wrong. At least where you're seeing, or where I'm seeing, there's a lot of 84, 85% of bets and money. I get it. It could be against what we say on Fridays. My rationale with this one, Nebraska's got the 10th fastest tempo in the country, and Maryland here 3-0 into the over against teams in the top 60 in tempo this season. A couple of those are Iowa. One of them was a mid-major team earlier on. But essentially, part of the reason why I think we expect Maryland to show up in this spot is a lot of the numbers will tell us that they will. And then they essentially the other team dictates the tempo that they play too. And so I think that's what we see again here tonight. I think we see a lot faster paced tempo game. Nebraska's got a bad defense as well, 151st per KenPom, 3 of the last 4, 85 points or more allowed. And that one outlier was Minnesota 65, who has been held under 50 in their last 2. So you tell me if that's good defense or bad defense against Minnesota there. And the last point, I said this on our show today. This isn't why I made this play, but if you need another angle of maybe rationalizing this game is Friday. These teams are far out of March contention. I expect a sloppy defensive. These teams are looking forward to what they're doing Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, having being college kids having fun because they don't want to show up to this game. It's, like I said, not why I played this, but if you like those type of angles of trying to figure out the mindset of college kids, you know what I mean, where these teams are far out of contention. It's a Friday night game against another bad team. They don't want to be here. I think they're looking forward to whatever is happening next in their lives. So, like I said, not why I'm playing it, but at least another rationalization possibly.
It's funny you say the over because it opened at 145 and a half. It's still 145 and a half at Circa, Westgate, South Point. But if I go over to DraftKings, it's at 147 and a half. Caesars has got it at 146. So anyone listening and watching right this second, if you better go to your app right now, or if you're on the Vegas Strip, hit that over now before Riley's onto something here. This number's going to shoot to the moon. Grab the over 145 and a hook. Maybe you get a 146. I love where your eyes are. Again, we know Fridays fade the public. It's payday. No NBA though, so they're going to be chomping at the bit to go somewhere, Riley.
Yeah, definitely. And, I'm glad I stayed away. Like I said, I'm glad I stayed away from the spread. Would you agree that if you gun to your head, is it Nebraska plus the 2 what you were taking if you had to go to the spread?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that's where I would go, but I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And I'll go back to yesterday as we were doing the closing bell. The Minnesota play again. That's exactly where that was the play. A huge reverse line movement, and again at a solo spot at a 5 o'clock tip, I think it was, and again just nowhere to be found. And I've talked at length with Colton about this, and you know about this too. It's almost like there's certain games this year that Vegas is just setting traps on guys like ourselves,
Right.
Looking for the reverse line movement. And not so much, we're not chasing the steam, but when you're seeing a 70-30 split and the line's going the other way, you got to take note. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Yeah, it's just for this one specifically, it's swallowing a big fat pill. And at least for the over, 146, yeah. I wouldn't go too crazy with this one as far as a full unit, depending on how big of a bettor you are. Grab your popcorn. This one's gonna be a lot of points in my opinion.
Let's jump to Saturday. Can you give us the Big Ten review? Maybe give us a preview also on Sunday, if there's any Big Ten games, what we're looking for or what we can expect, I guess.
Yeah, starting it off on Saturday, probably or definitely the biggest Big Ten game of the day. Excuse me, Illinois, Michigan State going into Sparty. If this isn't the time to prove us wrong as far as saying the F word for Sparty, I don't know what will. And obviously Illinois in that bounce back spot after the rough loss to Rutgers over there, losing 2 of their last 3 as well. Obviously that third one was Purdue. So, a tough one here. Illinois did beat them without Kofi Coburn. So obviously going to be a different look for Michigan State this time around. I expect, obviously, like I said, I'm an Illinois fan, not a diehard Illinois fan, but I do think Illinois is going to be looking for that bounce back. And I think we see that. I think we are going to firmly plant the fraud stamp on Michigan State here. So that's how I see this one. Obviously, again, without seeing a line, I'm not even sure what we see. It wouldn't shock me if Illinois is favored in this one.
Is it at State?
It's at Michigan State, yeah.
So I'll just go on a limb knowing those guys. 12 o'clock start?
12 o'clock at your time, yep.
I'll go Michigan State -3. Actually, you know what I can do?
Okay.
While you bring up the next game, I'll bring up my friend here. I'm going to say Michigan State 3, okay?
That's a 1.5.
You say 1.5. Okay, let's see what the board says. We'll go to our friends here. All right, we go to Michigan State. Oh, good job. Our friends at Ken Palm. Michigan State 71, Illinois 70. He's got a Michigan State -1. Good job.
That total is a little higher than I would have expected too. I would have guessed in the 130s there. I don't know about you, but okay, maybe that might be something to look at as far as the total. I can't imagine. Maybe I could be wrong about that one. My total for both of these two teams, I haven't been keeping close enough tabs on both of these two teams' total, but that one wouldn't surprise me if the total is set in the 130s and maybe the over is a good look there.
Their first game was 56-55 Illini.
Yeah, that one, it was a gross one. That was no Kofi Coburn. Michigan State did not show up to that one. Illinois relied heavy on their defense. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what that number's at. Next one up, though, Ohio State. Ohio State still, are they coming off? They're coming off 2 wins now after that Rutgers game. They smoked Michigan, who's been looking a lot better, 70-45 over Minnesota. So you kind of have to look at that Michigan game going on the road to Michigan, which we'll talk about here in a second, I'm sure. But that was a good win on the road against a team that's looked a lot better, right? And Iowa, speaking of, just lost, was that last night, I think, to Michigan at home as 5-point favorites. So I've kind of pulled back the reins on Iowa, Jeff. They're just so damn unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get from them, especially defensively. You can feel pretty safe that their offense is going to show up. But here on the road, give me Ohio State. I think they win by at least 5. I don't know what that line's going to be, but I think they win by at least 5. So if it's under that, give me Ohio State.
Well, you're in then. Ken Palm, 81-77.
Okay.
You're good. 2 for 2.
That total seems spot on. I think they're top 5 in the country to the over. Iowa is, and I of course tried to go under on them a couple weeks ago, but that's neither here nor there. Northwestern and Minnesota is the last one on Saturday, Jeff. I can't bet on Northwestern. I don't know what that spread is going to be, but if it's anywhere under 5, take Northwestern. Minnesota's offense is as bad as it gets right now. 46 yesterday, 45 against Ohio State. They played Penn State. I guess I didn't realize that. 76-70, but 65 to Nebraska, a terrible defense that I mentioned, 59 to Iowa. So if that one's under 5, take Northwestern.
69-67 Northwestern.
Yeah, give me Northwestern. Give me Northwestern. I guess I haven't the Northwestern since I can't follow them, and like I said, or I can't bet on them. Like I said in Illinois, I haven't followed them. I watched them when they've played the big boys, but I haven't watched their games against these lower the pack teams. So going on the road, I would still take them over Minnesota here in this spot. And then switching over to Sunday, another big one. Michigan and Wisconsin. Michigan, as far as their tournament hopes, I pulled up Joe Lunardi's bracketology, who's obviously not the end-all be-all, but he's got them in right now after that win last night. And I feel like that might be putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit, 14-10 straight up, and a handful of tough losses. If they get that one, though, they are finally the Fab Five that we've been talking about and looking for. The team that I have top 15, if not 10, coming into the season. And I'm not saying they're that good by any means, but they're at least supplanting themselves back into that picture. And they obviously already have put themselves back on the bubble. They're in the last 4 in, according to Lunardi here. So if they get that one, which I believe is at Wisconsin, I'd find it hard to believe Wisconsin losing 2 games in a row at home. They obviously bounced back against Indiana. I would be hard-pressed to see them losing twice at home. But that Michigan's brand of ball is tough for Wisconsin. Clashing styles for the most part, and obviously the way Michigan's playing, it wouldn't shock me. So I don't know what that spread's going to be. I would guess Wisconsin minus 2.5. And maybe I'll stay away and enjoy that one as a fan.
First, foremost, everyone watching and listening, we can't thank you. We got a big crowd here. Thank you. Riley, I told you, you're a meal ticket here on Friday afternoons. Keep it up. If you're not following Riley at RMAGS, TTL Sports, or Talking to the Line on Twitter, please do. And if you can help the ECSI team, run over to on the YouTube this second, East Coast Sports Investors. Just hit the subscribe button. You can smash the like button. And then as we close out here, Riley's going to tell you exactly where to go to follow all his viewers. They're all fans anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Ken Palm, 71-68. So they got Wisconsin on that dreaded 3 number. I agree with you in regards to this. You know, you don't expect them to lose 2 in a row at home. The Illinois game, the Rutgers was their first home loss other than the Providence, the 3rd game of the year. But that 3-point number is a smelly one. Michigan, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, just no traction. Now, all of a sudden, they're gaining that traction. I'm not going to call them Rutgers traction, but they're starting to trend that way.
Absolutely. And like I said, if they get this one, I'm not stamping their ticket to March by any means. They probably, obviously, they'll have a couple more bigger games and a couple probably bad losses that they could potentially have on their resume. From a betting perspective, the value seems like it's coming back to them. I've been staying out of them from a betting perspective for the last 2 months. And like I said, I think their brand of ball can beat Wisconsin. I don't like fading Wisconsin at home, so I'm going to stay far away from that one if I'm being totally honest. Depending on, maybe we get a goofy line that makes me change my mind a little bit on Sunday, because obviously that'll be probably the big ticket. Maybe not that game I'm saying, but college basketball now on Sundays is going to be a little bit bigger slates, right, with no football. So a lot more eyes on college basketball on Sundays is something to remember as well.
We talked no NBA. You got the Rising Stars. You got the 3-point contest. You got the dunk contest, and then you got a game on Sunday with an under over of like 320.
Yeah, a game, a quote unquote game. Yeah.
This is the classic horse game. Anything you can do, I can do better. It's the half court alley oops, et cetera, et cetera. It makes the flag football game a couple weeks ago in the NFL. I'm just going to throw this out there. Are you going to dive into any potential props, 3-pointers, dunk contests, any take on the game, East versus West, or is this just a weekend off from NBA? Enjoy the college, or what?
As far as the game itself, I honestly don't know the last All-Star game in the NBA. The only All-Star game that I watch and actually think has some from an angle, certain types of angles. Cole and I found a ton of value on the MLB All-Star game. That's the only one that I care about, Jeff. But on Saturday, I'm not sitting here as a dunk contest, 3-point contest expert by any means, but I will be playing something from just a little pizza and beer money entertainment value. From a fan perspective, let me see if I can pull these up for sure here. The Rising Stars tournament, I won't touch that one for sure. Iota Sumo, whichever team he's on, I don't even know what team he's on. That's my guy though. That's who I'll be rooting for in that one. From the 3-point contest perspective, though, we've got my guy Zach LaVine. At least as it stands right now, he's been out the last couple of weeks and just got good news about his knee, but he's still got some odds here. If he's in, plus 650, I'm going to take a little entertainment sprinkle there, as well as my guy Fred VanVleet of the Raptors. So I'm from the Rockford area, Jeff. That is where Fred VanVleet is from. Not quite the exact same. I'm from the connecting city, whatnot. But I've been watching him play since I was in high school. Our conferences, I didn't play against him, but my high school played his high school twice a year, 3 times a year. So I've been watching him since he was starting to get looks as a sophomore in high school, and then I went to Illinois State. And he was in the same conference at Wichita State. So I've been along with just about everyone from my hometown. He's a hometown hero. So I've got to back my man there for the 3-point contest. I actually think he has a good chance of winning. The highest odds or best odds, Luke Kennard plus 400, Patty Mills plus 450. So I'm going to take a sprinkle at Fred VanVleet, and if Zach LaVine's going, I'll probably do that as well. And then the dunk contest is usually one of my favorite events, but this year's field is about as weak as I've seen possibly ever, if not, or it's for sure in my lifetime, if not ever. I mean, I know it used to be a lot bigger fields, before my lifetime, and obviously every few years here during my lifetime. But Jalen Green, Obi Toppin, Cole Anthony, Juan Toscano Anderson, ain't no stopping Obi Toppin if I'm going anywhere. I know he's when he's feeling good, feeling loose, he can bring the house down. So plus 220 if I'm going anywhere. That's where I'm going with the dunk contest.
I was trying to multitask here, so I'm gonna go. Let me go one more year. I'm gonna send it to you. You said Fred VanVleet and the Shockers, and I'm gonna say it was 17. I want to make sure I was correct there. Providence every 4th year hosts the regionals. And myself and my good buddy, my accountant, we were courtside for, I think, your best Sharkers team with Fred VanVleet. And he had the other guy that came out with him,
Ron Baker.
Ron Baker. And I'll show you the pictures because you won't believe it. They were sitting watching the Duke game before us. And they were like right up against the rail. And then we were 2 rows behind them. And I'll tell you the story. They won their first game, and then we came back 2 days later, and they played a Miami team, and they got down 23 points, and they came all the way back to tie it. and then they just ran out of gas. And I'm telling you, I love that team to death. I was a
Oh,
huge fan of them.
yeah, absolutely. So it's a double-edged sword for me because I loved that team as well. But for a couple of years there, so right now Illinois State basketball is not looking great. But while Colton and I were there, if you're not familiar with my partner, we went to the ISU at the same time. For a couple of years there, we had some really good squads, and there was one year. If it's the same year, I'm not sure. I know ours was 2017, where we had, I think it was essentially we lost in the conference tournament to Wichita State in the championship for the auto bid, and then we were number one seed in the NIT, so we were right there. And so that team is kind of a double-edged sword of, as far as my favorite college basketball teams of all time, those Ronnie Baker and Fred VanVleet are up there. But it also has some heartbreaking losses for my allegiances as an Illinois State basketball fan. So like I said, double-edged sword as far as that's concerned.
I did find it. It was 2016. It was 2016, and I'm going to send you 3 snapshots.
Okay.
I got a picture of them. I got a picture with me with the Hurricane mascot, and my accountant got a big picture with Chris Webber. He was doing the games, and just brought some smiles and memories back. Holy cow.
Yeah. So in high school, his team, I want to say whatever class they were, finished third in state for Illinois finals, which with Chicago, Chicago schools being involved, that's actually a really solid accomplishment for a team from where we're from. And my high school, God love my friends who were on the team, but we weren't exactly the cream of the crop as far as our conference is concerned. And so Fred and his team would come in and beat us by at least 20 every single time. But fun fact, I'm not sure if it still stands, but for the longest time, his only career in-game dunk in an actual organized game was in my high school's gym on us when we were losing by about 20. I don't know if that still stands, if I'm being honest. I feel like he may have thrown one down once or twice over the last couple of years. But a first-time All-Star, shout out. But yeah, for the longest time, his first and only career dunk in a game was at my high school's gym.
We got next week. We're getting another week closer to the conference tournaments. It's a big week next week, as again, it's the first week without football. You got a little break with the NBA. All eyes are going to really start to focus on the college hoops. I myself Tuesday was at the stores when they beat Seton Hall.
Yeah.
I gave tickets away Saturday against Xavier, and then we got a big game Tuesday at the XL Center in Hartford against Nova. So it's really tightening up. Ken Palm's got Nova -2, and I can see that. I just think Nova and Providence are the two grittiest teams I've seen all year. They get all the 50-50 balls. You're down 7, you tie it up, and then they got an answer. And I see a lot of similarities in the Big Ten. There is a little break, but there's some teams starting to gain some momentum, and it's going to be kind of curious to see what the teams up top are going to do versus the teams gaining momentum. Rutgers is a perfect example.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking with Villanova, I mean, I was really high on them coming into the season. I can't remember. I mean, I think they were top 10, if not top 5, top 3 at one point. I could be wrong about that. But maybe they peaked earlier on in the season and then had a little lull, and now they're on the way up. I don't know. Maybe that's a dark horse sleeper for the tournament. As we've talked, it's almost anybody's ball game. I don't know if they can stack up against the top 5 teams in the country right now. I don't know, but I'm not throwing out the cards on Villanova either. I don't know what you're concerned as far as what you think, because Gillespie, it's going to take at least one guy to get really hot for those 3 weeks in March. Honestly, I don't know if they have Gillespie that can bring it that much. So maybe a Elite 8 Final Four sleeper though for me.
A team we talked about 2 weeks ago that just wins again, and you could have got him at 30-1. There's no way in hell you can get him at 30-1 right now. Texas Tech.
It's becoming my honestly I'm becoming a homer for them, so I've had to pull back the reins as far as betting them because I can't tell if my judgment is clouded. I really like that team. It's tough though because their points per game that they score at home compared to on the road is almost I don't know if it still is, but for a while it was a 20-point difference. I think tomorrow, I mean, it's going to be a revenge game for Texas. They go into Texas. The Big 12 has been my second conference that I followed the closest this year. I've got a lot of faith in Texas Tech. Texas, we've talked about them. Texas, if you give them a 20-point score, they're one of the best teams of all time, let alone what we've had this year. So that obviously isn't quite what they what they have, or giving them another, a score like that. But I think Texas Tech, that's probably the game I'm most excited for on the entire slate tomorrow. But, a guy that's an X factor, Terrence Shannon, if he can, get a little more, find a little more consistency offensively, not quite a guy that can create his own shot that consistently. If he can find a way to do that over the next month or get hot for those 3 weeks, then they're really dangerous. Also a guy, shout out Terrence Shannon from Lincoln Park High School in Chicago. My brother coached him in football. Another fun fact, double fun fact here. But yeah, I really like Texas Tech, Jeff. I think that's I don't know if they're even considered a sleeper anymore, but that's been my sleeper for a while now.
Ken Palm has Texas 62-61. It's a tough spot for Tech in this regards because now they swept Baylor and now they got to come into Texas. Hands down the best defense in the country, I think. And they have a hard time against finesse teams that like to push. I think Texas Tech fits right up their wheelhouse. They lost to them 77-66 on February 1st. So a revenge spot for Texas. I'll be keeping my eye on that. They've been good to us here at ECSI, but closing up shop, the crawler, at RMAGS TTL Sports, at Talking the Line. Everyone listening and watching, guys, thank you. Amazing show, but it's your stage. Tell everyone where to find you, your podcast, all your social media platforms, and you take it away.
Alrighty, my friend. Yeah, you see it scrolling down there. RMAGS TTL Sports is my Twitter. My partner Colt TTL Sports, at Colt TTL Sports. Colton Soroka, he's on your show Thursdays. We've got Talking the Line Twitter also scrolling down there for just about everything you need. TalkingTheLine.com as well. You catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on our daily show, Talking the Line podcast. Streaming live on YouTube, social media, podcast directories, wherever you want to find it. You catch us tomorrow, Cup of Joe on campus, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be breaking down just about every single game on tomorrow's college basketball slate. So it's going to be a loaded one. We pop open a pot of coffee, have a nice couple of hours. We've got some guests coming on our show tomorrow. And then Wise Words, yes sir, Wise Words. Usually every Wednesday. We're in between seasons right now, so it should be a couple weeks from now. We have had our friend Jeff here a couple times this past season, just getting a very well respected man or woman on the show to give us their experiences, opinions, knowledge, just make everyone smarter, better, kind of add to your toolbox type stuff. And we've had some great shows over there. That one also, YouTube, podcast directories. And that's about it, Jeff. I'm drawing a blank here. Colton's going to have his UFC blog for tomorrow, UFC Fight Night tomorrow, either tonight or tomorrow morning. Catch that for his UFC blog. And then I just debuted my PGA Tour blog. For the first time in making bets this throughout 2022 so far. Finally got the golf blog rolling. I'm looking for a new name, need a new catchy name, but so far so good. I've got 3 top 20s this weekend: Max Homa, Scotty Scheffler, and Xander Schauffele. Homa and Scheffler, last I checked, were top 5, so I'm feeling pretty good about those right now. But I'm gonna keep it rolling. If you need anything as far as Talking the Line, go to our Twitter page, talkingtheline.com, and feel free to reach out to either of us. We are not shy. We don't bite. We'll help you, talk with you, whatever you want. We'll be there for you.
And that's a fault on my part. I was going to lead into the PGA. I'm going to make sure next week we're going to start to talk a little PGA because you and I have talked off here about it. I'm kicking myself in the this week because one of the big factors into this week's play was iron play. And I mean, you can go to the Morikawas, the Hovlands, the big name guys. There's a handful that separate themselves with iron play.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Neiman fan, and that boy can strike the irons, and he is just tearing up that course. And I don't have him. I don't have him this week. I didn't do anything this week, but I'm just seeing that, and it's just making my head spin. And the kid can hit the long irons straight and narrow. He can make all the shots. It's his putter that usually lets him down. But last time I saw, he was almost lapping the field.
Him and so it looks like let's see, Cam Young, both he's Neiman 15 under, Young 14 under. Next closest Adam Scott actually 8 under. I didn't take too good of a look at him. I don't know if I can't remember if he won 2 years ago or if he was up in the pack 2 years ago. I mean, every once in a while, Adam Scott just reminds everyone that he's good at golf. Lost some consistency over time here, but yeah, I mean. Schauffele's one of my favorites just week to week because he's in that top 10. I mean, he's top 10 ranked golfer in the world, but they typically, as far as value wise, they whether it's by name or whether it's whatever's happening in that tournament, he's typically still on that 8-9, respect list. And I caught him plus money top 20, and I'm gonna take that just about every single time as long as he doesn't have a rough matchup with the course. You know what I'm saying here, and then. Scotty Scheffler and Max Homa. I personally Scotty. I think is going to be. I think he just cracked the top 10 world golf rankings. I think he's the next big thing coming. And then Max Homa, not quite in that range, but at least going to be a lot more consistent than he has shown throughout his career. And he's crushed this course over the last couple of years. So top 20 plus 220 for him. I'm feeling good about that one.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So remember this, guys, on Fridays, okay, 2 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Central Chicago time. You catch myself and Riley here talking Big Ten, talking cheeseheads. Even though it's off season, the season never stops. And then we're going to be rounding into form, into some closing with some golf, some strategies. It will already be one round in, but he still can talk who he has, and you might be able to dive into some in-game and some after round 2. To get some odds. I've done that a lot where I had a guy winning or I had a guy top 5. He makes the cut. They give me even better value. And, moving day Saturday. That's why they call it moving day for a reason. So you still can get 36 holes of sweat.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of the next thing as far as the next thing I want to dive into a little deeper is the, just round by round, like 1v1 matchup type stuff. If I love this guy to have a huge tournament and he's going up against a guy that I don't think is going to have a great tournament, then, that's some value that I can definitely come into the show here on Friday. So appreciate you having me on, man. I'm in loving that I've been diving deeper into the world of golf, especially now that football's over. I didn't have as much time during football season, but yeah, all systems go on the PGA.
For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, Riley Magnuson at TTL Sports, RMAGS TTL Sports, our version from Mags to Riches, and at Talking the Line. We wish everyone the best. Have an amazing Friday, a better weekend. And always remember this, if you are wagering or investing, always wager and invest responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number available. Myself, Riley, we care. Ask for help. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. So myself, Jeff Dawson, Riley Magnuson, we wish you all a blessed day. Good luck with your tickets. Enjoy the games. Have some fun with them. And we will see you later.